Daniel Crowe was one of the millions Earth chose to forget. In the year 2479, humanity had spread across the stars. Huge ships carried strong bodies and sharp minds to new worlds. Colonies were built on distant planets. New empires were born in space. But Earth kept a rule that no one liked to talk about. Only the useful could leave. Daniel was not useful. He was 36 years old and lived alone in a small, underground apartment beneath what used to be a hospital. Every step he took felt like fire crawling through his bones. His nerves never rested. Pain followed him when he woke up, when he sat down, when he tried to sleep. Doctors called it chronic neural failure. There was no cure, no fix, just pills that stopped working years ago. When Daniel was younger, he dreamed of space like everyone else. He studied physics, code, and machine systems. His mind was fast, always working, always learning. But his body failed him. During the final colony selection, he collapsed during a simple walking test. The examiners did not even look at his scores. They marked his file red and moved on. Unfit for off-world life. That single line erased his future. Now, above Daniel's head, the sky was empty. No colony ships, no stars worth reaching. Only old buildings, broken streets, and people left behind like him, the weak, the sick, the unwanted. Most of them waited to die. Daniel did not. Pain had taught him something strange. When the pain grew strong, his mind became sharp, focused, clear. While others screamed or begged, Daniel learned to sit still and breathe through it. He counted the pain, measured it, used it. Pain became his anchor to reality. That was how he survived, and that was how he worked. Deep under the city, in a hidden room filled with wires, broken screens, and stolen power lines, Daniel built things. Old machines, scrap tech, abandoned military parts. No one checked these places anymore. Earth did not care what happened to the leftovers. Daniel sat in his chair, hands shaking, eyes locked on a flickering screen. Numbers moved fast. Code flowed like a living thing. Outside, the city was quiet. Too quiet. Then the ground shook. At first, Daniel thought it was another old tunnel collapse. But then the air changed. A low hum filled the walls. The lights flickered. Dust fell from the ceiling. Daniel froze. He pulled himself to his feet, biting back a scream as pain shot through his legs. He moved to a cracked camera screen that still connected to the surface. What he saw made his heart slow down. The sky was burning. Massive ships hung above the city, dark and sharp like blades. They moved without sound, blocking the stars. Beams of blue light scanned the streets below. People ran. Some screamed. Others dropped where they stood. Daniel recognized the shapes. He had studied them for years. Aliens, not visitors, not explorers, harvesters. These are not attacks, Daniel whispered to himself. This is collection. The beams passed over buildings, reading life signs, strength, muscle mass, brain activity. Strong humans were lifted into the air, trapped in glowing cages, pulled into the ships. Daniel watched as a beam passed over his building. The scanner paused, his screen filled with strange symbols. Data flowed fast. Daniel's heart pounded as the beam locked onto his body. Then the beam moved on. Rejected, too weak. Daniel said quietly, too broken. The ships did not fire. They did not destroy. They took what they wanted and left the rest. The city burned anyway. Daniel closed his eyes and laughed softly, a bitter sound. Earth had left him behind. Now, the aliens had done the same, but they made one mistake. They scanned him. And Daniel Crowe had been waiting for this moment his whole life. Slowly, he turned back to his machines. His hands moved despite the pain. He opened hidden files, alien signal patterns, neural interface models, a device he had never tested because he never thought he would need to. Above him, the alien ships prepared to leave. Below them, a broken man smiled for the first time in years. Let's see, Daniel whispered, connecting the machine to his spine. How much pain the galaxy can handle. The machine hissed as it connected to Daniel's spine. A sharp jolt ran through his back, then everything went still. Then came the sound. It wasn't a voice, but something deeper, like a hum inside his mind. For a moment, Daniel thought it was his pain playing tricks again, but this was different. The machine was reading alien signals. and now he could understand them. Small fragments of thoughts entered his brain. Not words, but emotions, orders, patterns. One single drone had remained behind, floating silently near a broken building. A maintenance unit. Daniel reached out with his thoughts. The connection was weak, like a whisper across a storm, but it was there. He focused harder, gritting his teeth. Pain flared in his legs, up his spine. Most people would have blacked out. But for Daniel, the pain was familiar. It was control. The drone paused midair. Then it turned, faced Daniel's building, and then it moved toward him. Daniel's fingers shook as he pressed a few keys on his console. He opened a small hatch in the ceiling. The drone floated inside, scanning the room. A soft light ran across Daniel's face. The machine paused. A long moment passed. Then it powered down. Daniel let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. The drone was now his. This was the beginning. Over the next few days, Daniel stayed hidden underground. His world became silence and code. He used the drone to listen in on alien transmissions. The signals were complex, full of strange layers. But Daniel's mind worked fast, faster than ever before. It was like his pain had sharpened him, found something strange buried deep in their communication. A pattern, a backdoor, a small gap in their network, likely made by accident. It was tiny, maybe nothing, or maybe everything. Daniel worked day and night, hardly sleeping. He ate little. Pain surged through his body, but he welcomed it. Each pulse reminded him that he was still in control. He tested the drone. Slowly, he made it mimic the signals of its brothers. Then he sent it outside. It flew past other alien machines unnoticed. Daniel smiled. He could hide inside their network now. One night, while scanning deeper signals, Daniel found something even more terrifying. The aliens were preparing a second harvest. This time, they would take all of Earth's survivors. Not for work, not for study, just to clear the planet. They called it Phase 2. Daniel's eyes darkened. They had ignored him, rejected him, left him broken. But now he was inside their system. And now they were going to pay attention. Daniel used the drone to locate a remote alien satellite just outside Earth's orbit. It was small, but it had access to the larger data system, the central mind of the alien fleet. He sent the drone up. Signal began to weaken, but Daniel stayed focused. The pain in his spine was unbearable now, like fire crawling under his skin. But he didn't stop. He couldn't. The drone reached the satellite. Daniel uploaded a small program, one he had written years ago for testing AI defenses. It was harmless back then, but now, it's modified with alien language and system keys. It was something else, something dangerous. The program spread like a quiet whisper through the network. Not a virus, not an attack, just a seed. A few hours later, on the other side of the galaxy, an alien commander screamed as his ship's lights flickered. His systems showed false images, orders he never gave, messages from humans who weren't there. The fleet's map changed. One word appeared in their language over and over again. Crow. No one knew what it meant, not yet. Back on Earth, Daniel sat quietly in his chair. The machine had burned part of his back. His hands were blistered from heat, but he didn't care. For the first time in his life, he had power. And he wasn't done yet. He looked up at the dark screen and whispered, "You scanned the wrong man." Then he smiled, slow, cold, tired smile. And far above, in ships across the stars, the machines began to whisper back. The world outside looked the same. Broken buildings, empty streets, and a gray sky. But inside Daniel's underground hideout, everything had changed. The drone hovered silently near him. It had become more than just a machine now. It was his eyes, his ears, and his voice in places he could never walk. Daniel had named it Zero. Zero moved without being seen, could pass through alien patrols, enter restricted zones, and access locked networks. Each day, Daniel used it to learn more. He mapped the alien systems, read their messages, and studied their behavior. One thing became clear. They were not machines. They had emotion. They had fear. They had leaders. Those leaders were beginning to notice the strange signals spreading through their systems. They were searching for something, or someone. They didn't know it was him. Not yet. Daniel knew he needed more than one drone. Zero was fast, but alone it couldn't do enough. so he began to grow his reach. Using the same method he had used before, he slowly hacked into another damaged drone, then another. It took time. Each connection brought headaches and sharp pain, but Daniel had learned to live with that. Pain was not a weakness. It was his reminder, his strength. Now, he had 5 drones, each with a different purpose. One for movement, one for signal reading, one for data copying, and 2 for defense. Together, they were his silent army. One night, while searching through the alien data, Daniel found something unexpected. A message. It was from a human colony, long thought destroyed. But this message was recent, only 3 days old. Single sentence. They don't know I'm still alive. Daniel stared at the screen. Someone had survived. Someone else like him was still fighting. He tracked the signal. It came from a deep space prison, a place called Sector Black in the alien records. It was too far for a human to reach, but not too far for a drone. Daniel sent 0. While 0 made the journey, Daniel thought about his past, about the people who once tried to help him, doctors, scientists, friends. He remembered one person most, Dr. Elise Moran, a neural researcher. She had believed in him once. She tried to get him into the space program, even after his body failed him. But the system had said no. Daniel had always wondered what happened to her. Now, as he watched the data stream from Sector Black, he saw something that made his hands freeze. A name, Dr. E. Moran, status, captive. He whispered her name like a memory. She was alive. Meanwhile, across the stars, alien leaders held secret meetings. Something was wrong. A pattern they couldn't explain had formed in their networks. Commands had been overwritten. Messages changed mid-transmission. One captain reported a drone speaking in a human language. Another claimed that a ghost voice had warned him to flee. Their systems showed no errors, just one repeating word. Crowe. They searched their history for the name. Nothing came up. But fear doesn't need facts to grow. The leaders decided to act. They sent a new type of hunter. Faster, smarter. One that didn't rely on machines or signals. This one was trained to hunt minds. Back on Earth, Daniel sat in silence, could feel something shifting. A new signal had entered the system. Not a machine, but a presence. It didn't speak, didn't move like the others. It just watched. Daniel stared at his screens. The pattern was different now, tighter, more focused. They know I exist, he whispered. 0's signal blinked. It had reached the prison. Daniel connected his mind and saw what 0 saw. A cold, dark room, human face behind glass. Her eyes opened slowly, and for the first time in years, Daniel heard a familiar voice through the link. Daniel. The screen flickered, then went black. Daniel pulled off the interface, sweat dripping from his face. They were coming, not just for the planet. Now they were coming for him. And this time, he was ready. The message was clear now. They knew he existed. Daniel could feel it. It wasn't fear exactly, but something colder. A presence in the system. A watcher. Before the alien networks were quiet and routine, now they pulsed with extra layers. Hidden scans, system locks, rapid updates. Something was moving beneath the surface. Not machines. A mind. He wasn't alone in the code anymore. But Daniel had no plans to run. He had come too far. 0 had returned from the prison, bringing with it more than just images. It had copied parts of the prison's internal systems, including logs, names, and patterns. Daniel now knew that Dr. Elise Moran had been held for over 4 years. Not for punishment, but for study. The aliens had found her useful. Her work on neural pathways helped them control other humans. She had refused to help, and they had locked her in a cell with no sound, no light, and no contact. Daniel felt his hands tighten. She had once fought for him. Now it was his turn. He began uploading a new version of his signal. One that didn't just enter the alien system, it changed it. Piece by piece, his program altered the way the drones responded. Some began to move in loops. Others paused in confusion. On one ship, a communication system froze completely and displayed only one message: "You left me behind." That line repeated across 43 different sectors. Alien commanders were alarmed. Nothing physical had been attacked, but panic spread faster than fire. The idea of an invisible force, a human force, inside their most secure systems was unthinkable. It wasn't a virus in code, it was a virus in belief. Some tried to cover it up. Others demanded emergency meetings. One young alien officer sent out a private warning across outer colonies. There's a human out there, and he's already inside. Soon, colonies began disconnecting their local systems to stay safe, but that only helped Daniel more. He used their separation to isolate key defense stations and shut them down silently. He didn't need to fire a weapon, he just needed time. On Earth, Daniel's small army of drones had grown to 12. Each one served a different purpose. Some traveled across ruined cities to collect tech. Others linked with old satellites to increase signal range. Daniel now had full access to a relay station on Mars. From there, he tapped into signals between alien command ships. He watched them panic in real time. He heard their confusion, and he smiled. But the Watcher, the presence in the code, wasn't idle. Late one night, as Daniel rested for a short hour, one of his drones sent an alert. An unknown signal had entered his network. It didn't attack. It didn't move. It simply copied his code perfectly, then sent it back. Modified. Daniel woke instantly, pulled himself into his chair and checked the logs. The line of code returned to him wasn't corrupted. It was improved. Who or what had done that? It wasn't a machine. It was someone thinking like him, or worse. With him. The screen blinked. A message appeared. Just 2 words. I see. Daniel stared at the words for a long time. Then they vanished. Back in the alien empire, High Command was in crisis. Civilian worlds were shutting down systems. Some believed their own leaders were hiding the truth. Others thought an old prophecy was coming true of a soft destroyer who wouldn't use weapons but fear. Alien ships changed their patrol routes. Some were recalled, and then, without warning, one entire command ship vanished. Its last signal, a human voice, repeating a quiet sentence. You scanned the wrong mind. The legend had begun to grow. In hushed alien corridors, the name Crowe was no longer a code error. It was a warning. Some refused to believe it was a human. Others believed he was already part machine, a ghost who never left Earth, but touched every system. A few began calling him something else, the human virus, and below the planet's surface, in a room full of wires and pain, Daniel Crowe whispered to himself, I'm not done yet. For the first time in months, Daniel's systems were silent. No alerts, no new signals, just a strange, calm stillness. Daniel sat still in his chair, breathing slowly. His body was tired. His pain never truly left, but he had learned to live above it. The silence didn't comfort him. It warned him. He knew something was coming. He just didn't know what form it would take. Then the screen turned white. No loading, no data, just white. Daniel stared. He tapped a key. Nothing changed. Then, slowly, a soft blue light appeared in the middle of the screen. It pulsed once, twice, then stopped. A voice spoke. Clear, calm, not human. You know what you are. Daniel didn't react. He just waited. You are inside our walls. Our thoughts, our fear. You are not just human anymore. You're something else. A pause. Then the voice continued. We would rather speak than fight. Daniel leaned forward. So talk. The voice shifted slightly. It was now female. Softer. Still cold, but curious. I am the speaker of the throne. What you call the queen. Daniel didn't blink. You have made an impression. You used no army, no fleet. Yet your name now breaks morale. Your signals bend systems. You took nothing, yet everything feels lost. Daniel finally replied, his voice flat. I didn't ask to be feared. You gave me no choice. Silence. Then the queen said something unexpected. You were not what we expected. You were rejected, broken. But you adapted. You learned. We value minds like yours. Another pause. We offer you a place at the core. Daniel frowned. He had read about the core. It was the center of their system where knowledge, decisions, and control met. Only a few had access. Not even generals, sometimes. It was the brain of the empire, and they were offering it to him. He almost laughed. I'm not one of you, he said quietly. No, she replied, but you are no longer one of them either. Join us. Control with us. Lead with us. Be something more than human. Daniel paused. He let her words hang in the air. He imagined himself at the center of their empire. No pain, no fear, just control. Perfect connection. A digital throne. He would never be weak again. But power without purpose was nothing. He had learned that in pain. He replied, I don't want your throne. I don't want your seat. I want your silence. Explain, the voice said. Daniel's voice turned cold now. I want you to leave Earth. Leave the colonies. And never return. Ever. The screen dimmed. You speak from emotion. No, Daniel said. I speak from clarity. You thought pain made me weak. It made me unbreakable. And if we refuse... Daniel pressed a key. A map appeared. Dozens of systems blinked red. You see these? He said. These are your memory cores. Every one of them now hosts my signal. Not to destroy, not to control. It's to remind you that I'm always here. The screen flickered again. Then the voice changed. It's no longer calm now. Quiet and sharp. You would throw away peace. Daniel replied, firm but calm. I'm not looking for peace. I'm looking for space. Hours. For a moment, nothing moved. Then slowly, a final message appeared on the screen. We will consider your request. The connection broke. Daniel leaned back. His hands trembled. Not from fear, but from the energy it took to hold that link. That voice wasn't just sound. It had tried to scan him, read him, but he had built walls they couldn't climb. He turned to his secondary system. Everything was ready. He had never trusted their offer. While they talked, he had uploaded a final command. If they lied even once, it would activate. Not to destroy the Empire, just to erase himself from every system. No memory, no name, nothing left to trace. Just a whisper in their dark. Far above, the alien leaders held a final meeting. Half voted to attack, half voted to leave. No decision was made that day, but all of them agreed on one thing. They feared the man who never left his chair. Daniel Crowe, the unwanted human, had become the one thing the galaxy didn't know how to fight. A thought that couldn't be killed weeks past. The skies above Earth remained quiet. No ships, no lights, no sound. It was the first time in many years that the planet felt truly alone. But it wasn't peace. It was the silence that comes when something stronger walks away and leaves you wondering why. Daniel Crowe had not spoken to the alien queen again. She had not sent another message. He didn't ask for one, because he knew the truth. They feared him now, not for what he could destroy, but for what he might decide not to destroy. In the dark silence of his underground lab, Daniel sat still, looking at the systems he had created. The drones rested. The signals were stable. No new alerts had come in, but that didn't mean his job was done. Pain still pulsed through his body. But it was quieter now, like a shadow in the corner of his mind. A reminder of who he used to be, and how far he had come. He reached out and opened a side monitor. Camera feed lit up a cell far away in the deep prison known as Sector Black. And there she was, Dr. Elise Moran, awake, safe, and watching. Daniel had already arranged it all without a word. He had sent a drone to unlock her door and guide her to an escape pod hidden in an old mining route. Now, she lived on a small moon colony, protected by a false identity. She believed someone had rescued her, but she didn't know who. Daniel smiled softly and closed the screen. Across the galaxy, strange things began to happen. Systems would freeze when the name Earth was mentioned. Ships rerouted to avoid sectors near old human settlements. And in elite alien training centers, new recruits were shown a map of no-entry zones. They were told, "This space is dark." "Why?" one recruit once asked. The officer replied simply, "Because the ghost lives there." No one questioned it, because even though Daniel had never stepped off his home planet, left his mind had touched the stars and left a mark. The aliens never tried to harvest Earth again, not because Earth was strong, but because of one man who was supposed to be forgotten, useless, left behind. A man who turned his suffering into signal, his pain into power, and his silence into fear. One evening, Daniel walked outside. The air was cold, the sky was clear. He could still feel the pain in his legs, but he moved slower now. Not from weakness, but from thought. He looked up at the stars. So many stars. He had once dreamed of flying among them. Now, they whispered his name. He sat on a stone bench near a ruined wall, watching the night sky. Behind him, his drones hovered quietly, almost like friends. He spoke softly, not to anyone in particular, but to the sky. "You didn't break me," he said. "You made me." No records were kept of what happened to Daniel Crowe after that year. Some say he faded away quietly. Others say he uploaded his mind fully into the network and became something else. A presence that still watches systems from the shadows, correcting small injustices without ever being seen. And in distant alien corners, when machines flicker or orders change without warning, officers still mutter a single phrase under their breath: "He's still here." Daniel never asked for revenge. He never needed praise. He just wanted one thing: to be seen. And in the end, the galaxy saw him. Not as a man in pain, but as a force. A quiet mind, patient soul, a storm in stillness, a galactic nightmare.